We start tonight with new details in the investigation. Several vehicles were hit by bullets on Friday.
And a family, including children, came dangerously close to that gunfire. Police Chief Mike Goldsmith just brought City Council up to speed as officers have been sifting through a pile of evidence collected from 3 major crime scenes.
29-year-old James Andrew Brown shot from his car at random. In the end, a teenager, a police officer, and the suspect all died. 10 on your side's Chris Horne was at the police briefing.
And Chris, a lot of revelations today.
Yeah, Tom, there were some new developments filling in some of the gaps about the timeline. We now know that Brown shot at least at 2 other vehicles on his way from the first scene, which was Chesapeake Boulevard, where 17-year-old Mark Rodriguez was shot dead in his minivan, and the second scene, which was Brown's home on Wellington. It was there that police say Brown started using a high-powered rifle to shoot at the first 2 responding officers, Curtis Allison and Brian Jones. Chief Michael Goldsmith praised the actions of his 2 officers who responded Friday night to the gunman's home. Curtis Allison arrived first. Brian Jones came to back him up.
Brown fired multiple rounds from his rifle at Officer Jones and Officer Allison. Officer Jones was struck and fell next to his police vehicle. Officer Allison returned fire with his service weapon while attempting to seek cover.
Allison was shot in the hip and would recover. Jones would die of his wounds a few hours later in the hospital. The chief says Brown then got in his red Jeep and fled the area.
An officer responding to the scene heard over the police radio an officer yelling shots fired. He then heard that an officer was down and unresponsive. As the officer turned off Tidewater Drive onto Biltmore Road, he observed the red Jeep operated by Brown leaving the area with no lights on.
Moments later, Brown would crash the Jeep on Galveston near Little Creek Road.
The officer attempted to take Brown into custody and a struggle ensued. Fearing that he would be overpowered, the officer shot Brown.
Brown was dead, his vehicle heavily damaged and sitting in the middle of Galveston. He was pronounced dead at 10:55. So in just 15 minutes, the shooting spree ended with a police officer and a teenager dead, their killer lying in the street. Chief Goldsmith praised his officers for how they have held up after losing one of their own.
I'm as proud as I can be of them and of their performance in this, the way they have rallied around this family, the way they have rallied around each other.
Council members in the Q&A session afterward asked Chief Goldsmith about the mental health history of James Andrew Brown, and the chief said he wasn't prepared to answer that question, but it is definitely part of their investigation. Live in Norfolk, Chris Horne, 10 on your side.